So this is going to be my build for Free the Ferraris build off by Diecast Creations. This is a build he's doing for his girlfriend on her birthday. It's because her name is Ferrari and she also likes stealing all of his Ferraris every time he gets some new cars. So happy birthday, Amanda, and hope you enjoy the build and have a great day. So to start with, I picked up this Ferrari online just because I couldn't find any in my local stores. So this is a Ferrari F430 Spider. Initially I thought it was a no-name brand car, but it's actually got like a Malaysia and like a Hot Wheels logo, but not like the one you usually see. So I think this is one of those Malaysian Hot Wheels, but I'm not an expert in Hot Wheels, so... at some point it's been repainted because you can just see the flakes of yellow underneath here and there, and the windshield's pretty messed up. Now if any of you know me, I'm going to turn this into some kind of post-apocalyptic vehicle, so obviously the windshield being messed up isn't too bad a problem because I can just replace it. So here's the casting broke down into its basic parts just so you can see what I had to work with, just to give you an idea. Also you can see the yellow paint underneath because it was yellow originally. But while looking over the parts, I noticed that it's got an engine bay, and so I'm thinking I'm not going to put the window back in and just leave the engine completely exposed because it'll look a lot better. So here's the final build. I did try and keep the vehicle as streamlined as possible because obviously being a supercar you want to keep this thing as fast as possible, not want to overweigh it with weapons and armour. So I'll move on to the parts list. So to start with, I use a North Star minifigures Gaslands Palau. I did add some steering tubing spikes to it and just cut it off around the headlights. I did trim it back around the headlights. I also added a minigun from the same North Star minifigures Gaslands Sprue, just because obviously it needed some firepower, but I didn't want to go too overboard. I did want to add a missile launcher, but again, I want to try and keep this a bit tamed down, because obviously it's a supercar and you can't just stack a load of weapons and armour onto it and still have the same kind of supercar performance. Because I do want to kind of keep it as a race car. I think it's a race car performance vehicle in Gaslands. I always get confused on that one. For the side armour, I just made this up with some different types of styrene. We've got some rectangle pattern styrene that I like to use because it kind of has that military armour look to it, and then I just use some square styrene tubing to kind of go around that. I then built a roll cage and added a bit of mesh to the windshield just kind of protect the driver, just because obviously I wasn't going to use the original windshield. Initially I did want to heavily armour the cab up, but I just felt it blocked the view of being able to see inside and see the driver, and since I was going to add a driver to this, I didn't want to just be, use a nice driver figure and then you're never going to be able to see it, so I just kind of went with the exposed roll cage instead. As for the driver, I used one of my green miniatures Mad Cars movie drivers. These are all drivers based upon the movie Mad Max 2 Road Warrior. This one's actually the warrior woman from the film. She's one of the settlers in the oil refinery and helps Max defend the oil tanker in the final chase of the film. Moving on to the back, I scratch built a spoiler for this out of some styrene I had lying around. And as for the armoured hubcaps, I used some drawing pins. I've done this before, but I couldn't find my drawing pins somewhere, so I had to go and buy some more. Just a simple effect, all you do is just cut the pin off and glue them in place, although you'll have to be careful because it's pretty tricky to glue them in place with super glue. Also be careful when you're doing this because the pins do have a habit of shooting off if you're using a pair of sprue cutters. Also try not to use your decent sprue cutters because I have a second pair which is just an old pair that I used because it will damage up the blades on them. So here we are with the finished vehicle, all nicely painted up. I noticed when I was painting it, the exhaust detail kind of got covered up, so I just went and used some styrene tubing just for the exhaust tips, just so you could still see them, because it just looked better than what I did manage to do with the paint. So it definitely was a fun build, and I do look forward to the next build off that Diecast Creations does. Again, happy birthday, Amanda. As usual, this is going to be a slideshow at the end with some glamour shots. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.